right, welcome back. All right, so men's finals, man. The men's rugby tournament came on first, man, kicking off the Olympic week and really kicking off the rugby competition. This one was one that was anybody's game, to be perfectly honest with you. Anybody's bloody game. And that was probably one of the things that made it most interesting and most heartbreaking simultaneously. Before we go into it, man, let's talk about what were the results. France won it all. God dog. Home team took it at home. Congrats to them. You know, I'm not a big fan of France, but yo, I love big play. I really honestly thought Fiji was gonna make this. Like, I did not think that they had anything to stop them, because while they were not like as buttoned up as they normally had been, they didn't look like there was anybody that was gonna stop them anytime soon. Like, you kind of looking at it and they were like, who's gonna do anything to us? Who's going to do anything? But they really got themselves caught up. So looking at the ranking, we saw France win it all, Fiji getting silver, South Africa getting bronze. Great story for South Africa. What a bloody comeback for South Africa overall. And we'll talk about it as soon as I finish the rankings. Australia came in 4th, New Zealand 5th, Ireland 6th, Argentina 7th, USA 8th, Kenya 9th, Samoa 10th, Uruguay 11, and Japan at number 12. Now, this was one that I really found interesting. I want to talk South Africa because, man, if they had made the finals over France, that would have been, I think, one of hands down the greatest comebacks for a rugby team in history, because that was a rugby squad that not only failed to qualify in the African Cups, they had to fight through the repechage to be able to qualify for the Olympics. They did well in the HSBC Sevens series, but you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know because it didn't feel like this program was taking itself seriously. Then to be able to go through pool play, all right, they lost to who did they lose to? Forgot. They lost like one game, I believe. Made it into pool play at number 2. I think it was New Zealand they might have lost. No, because New Zealand would have been a big deal for them to have won. But made it through to pool play to ultimately get through to quarterfinals, semifinals, lose in the semifinals to the eventual champs France, and then take on Australia to be able to win it all, coming in bronze. Like, this team, that is a resilient team. This is a team that knows how to win. That is a team that knows how to win. Shout out to Captain Selvin David for actually like really knocking this out. Like, he did a great job in rallying his team all the way through. Not just in not just for one game, but throughout the entire competition year in 2023. Between South Africa and China women, I don't think there's any teams that have shown more mental fortitude in this year of rugby sevens than ever. All right, so all the credit goes to them. All right, shout out to Australia, because that was a country that was looking down and out leading into this Olympics. Like, there was no way that there should have been any faith in them. I mean, this is a young team, not very well known, basically trying to rebuild, showing talent. Obviously, there were a couple veterans, like I think Matt Gonzalez, who'd been playing HSBC all throughout sevens, and Nick Malfoy, who's doing stuff. Mark Roche is for Ireland. I forgot the other guy's name. It's a long one, but like, this is a team that in 2020 ended up coming in 9th. In 2016, if I remember correctly, I think they were like 6th or 7th. Like, Australia rugby, rugby sevens in the Olympics has been monumentally disappointing. So for them to really show out, at the expense of the US, of course, too, but to really show out what they could do, I thought it was really beautiful to see. It was really, really beautiful to see from them. Trying to remember where it was. This is the women. Where did the men finish off? Let's see here. Yeah, Australia finished 8th. Yeah, I was right. Australia finished 8th in that. So to bounce back after 2 years, 2 Olympics, I mean, where they just absolutely disappointed. I think it was really impressive on them um, to be able to get back and forth, and it shows like there's might be a little bit of life left in this uh, Australia side. Like there might be legitimate life. They might be having something. Obviously, they got rugby championships coming up. They came in 7th in 2020. Like this, it's hey, Australia might not be dead yet. They might be on life support, but they're not dead yet. So I thought that was really dope to be able to see. New Zealand, again, this has not been a good year for New Zealand. If to say so, like New Zealand has worked really hard to lose to South Africa a lot this year. This last like 12 months. All right. But again, it's a young New Zealand side. Lots of upside. This is never a team that you discount. But I wasn't surprised they weren't as good, but it was just different to kind of see, considering the historic nature that this team has against it, especially considering the fact that they've been in the finals each of the last 2 Olympic sides. So for them to fall out to 5th, oof, heavy. Ireland, man. Ireland was better than I thought, but not as good as I was expecting. If that makes sense. Like they weren't I knew they weren't going to be complete trash. They came in 3rd in the HSBC Sevens overall series. But I didn't think they were going to be as competitive, because just whenever you're inside the Olympics, it feels like the teams kind of flippy flop a little bit and it doesn't come off exactly the same. So to be able to see to see the men, they did their thing. Like they put Fiji up on the wall. All right, that was anybody's game in that quarterfinals. They put Fiji up against a post, and obviously Fiji ended up prevailing. But Ireland was a tough team. That's a long team. Like I found these European teams are very long. And it felt like it was personal. I'm not gonna lie. There were some points in the game where I was like, "Yo, like what? Y'all over at Ireland seem like you got a problem with Fiji." And I'm pretty sure it's something of like, "Yo, we want to challenge the expectation that Fiji has of being this ultimate dominant power in rugby sevens, going back to back golds, looking to go for the hat trick, and we want to show that we're right up there with them." And honestly, they did. Honestly, they did, man. And it was sad that the U.S. lost to Ireland, because they really did have that game going back. That game was in USA's hand, and being able to have penalties at the end was devastating. To lose literally in the last second, where the U.S. probably would have finished at 6th, if they had been able to complete that outing. Argentina. Honestly, Argentina disappointed me. I actually thought Argentina was going to be way better than they were. I mean, they beat the people that they were supposed to beat. That is factually true. They beat the people they were supposed to beat. But like, if that's the standard that we're going by, like, I wasn't impressed. I wasn't impressed by it. I really did think that they were supposed to do much better overall. And I want to try and make sure bring on the men's event for that. So the results, all things considering. All right. Like Argentina they were in Pool B. So they had like Samoa, Kenya, and Australia. Like the game against Australia in the pool play, Argentina just wasn't competitive over long haul. They looked like they were in the rugby championship. It's like they got the yips against Australia. But I really did think Argentina was going to show out better, and they simply just could not. They simply just could not pull it out. Um, get this specifically. Uh, so they, so Argentina had lost to New Zealand and Australia, of course, their rugby championships partners, and France, which, like I said, Argentina, I've called them. They are the best. They are the worst best team in one of the worst best teams in the world. They literally can beat everybody except for the people that they need to beat to increase their levels. And it's always the same thing. Again, I don't understand why they have such restrictions. Like the Argentina Australia game, Argentina had it at the beginning, and then they just let Australia come back in. The France game, France pulled away. France is just long. New Zealand game, it was a close game, but New Zealand was able to pull away at the last second, and then over to U.S. For the 7th place spot. Just like it just man, I thought Argentina was going to do better. And this goes the same with the USA. And the USA one devastated me more because considering everybody that was on that top 8 list, like the USA had the most to lose. Obviously, Perry Baker retiring after this year. And I'm almost certain that he's going to. Like, he's absolutely retiring. I don't think there's any if, ands, or buts about that. You know, the factor that you are seeing a lot of guys starting to age out. I know Kayvon Williams is going to continue. Madison Hughes is getting older, especially going into this next Olympics. Like, if we go into the next Olympics in LA, like, and we're keeping a squad that's similar to this, you know, we got a lot of 34, 35-year-old dudes that are going to do it. And hey, as a 38-year-old person, I'm here for showing that being in your mid-30s does not mean that you're athletically weaker. But I do think that there's a breath of life that goes into it that is needed, and having too many older guys can actually be it hinder the ability for a team to be able to take that next step, because you don't have the time, you don't have the hunger and the vigor to be able to go knock it out. But yeah, with the USA team, you know, man, it really bothered me from square one. Obviously, the game against France, I put it on social media. I was horrendously against the idea of tying. Horrendously. I think it was a bad culture move. I know it, and I'll say it like it was before. It's a smart play. It's a smart play to be able to continue on. It's a safe route. But when it was all said and done, like, I think that impacts the mentality of the players. Like, there's a takeaway where it's like, we can't beat them, so we're just going to ease our way through. And you know, you had Fiji and Uruguay that they had to play in the pool play afterward. Fiji manhandled the USA completely, and Uruguay, that's where, you know, Perry was able to really go off on them. But Uruguay was also a weaker team, so it wasn't really going to be that surprising that they went off on them like that. But whenever you have like the, you know, you going into freaking the quarterfinals, you know, you go up against an Australia team that just you're not able to break past the hump and get past a defense that was honestly trying to give you the plays, man. The number of penalties Australia was making was wild, but like the US just dropping ball after dropping ball to lose 18-0 in the quarterfinals just hit. And then for the Ireland game, I mentioned before, like, it was a last second play. They had Ireland. Ireland was one. That should have been 14-12. And that game should have been over if it wasn't for I think the offsides call. So man, it hits. And then for the Argentina game, it goes back again to, like, it feels like the mentality just drops, where it's like, what's the effing point? There's no hunger to be able to get more, because again, guys are older, you know, you get more, you have expectations, This is a team that's been more or less together for a decade, and what the results of that is, I mean, to be determined on that one. So not to be determined. It hasn't been, it's been determined. It's not been great. It's not been great. And it's been a talented team. I refuse to let anybody say that this USA men's team was lacking in players or was lacking in proper roster selections. Like, no, it was good. The good mix of a lot of veterans, a couple young guys who absolutely showed out. Shout out Lucas LeCamp and Oren Beezer. Like they did their job. They showed out. They're the reason why you want the team to get younger. But at the same time, like that inability to complete the play, that inability to like fight to not just be mediocre, but to be able to get by, and just it hit the U.S. And I don't know what we're gonna do in this next 4 years. I don't know what we're gonna end up doing in these next 4 years, because arguably the moment where we have our single most important Olympic Games where we really need to actually show out, we're not going to have probably our best team that we've had. The golden era, as of right now, of USA men's rugby, I think is over. With Perry Baker stepping down, and rightfully so, the next time the Olympics comes around, he's going to be 42 years old. He can't play in that. That's insanity. The man's got kids, obviously, take care of his family, go make some real money. It's tough. So this USA one, man, this in Paris really hurt because there was so many things on the line. Of course, we got new coaching that's going to come in. A lot of talks that Mike Friday, if he hasn't officially done it, will officially step down as the men's rugby sevens head coach. And honestly, I don't think that that's the wrong move. Again, it's been 10 years. It's been 10 years. And haven't meddled, haven't finalized in anything. Of course, the biggest thing has been that this team has been a threat, and it brought notoriety to the name of the U.S. In rugby sevens. And I think the only reason why people want to try and disclaim it is as if rugby sevens is the same rugby sevens that we had in pre-2009. Like, it's not the same thing. Like, this is the game. This is its game. Like, it's not over 15s in terms of the long-term value, but yeah, it is a legit game. This is not the side project of 15s anymore. It's not an exercise. There's legit competition with legit stakes, with legit story, with legit viewership, with legit audience. So it needs to be taken seriously. So to have had Mike Friday be able to bring us up where we are a legitimate threat for medal, and people have to watch us and really scheme against us and never just dismiss what the U.S. can do, has been an absolute pleasure. It has been so good, and I hope we are able to keep going up with it. But just like I'm trying to think of a good football reference of where I got it. Just like the Warriors had to do with what's his name, their head coach, before they brought in Steve. Before they brought in Steve Kerr, and they had a guy who basically set up this entire roster. But it is now time for somebody else to literally start it all over, and hopefully start from an understanding of what the platform means, and behind the leaderships of Kayvon and Madison Hughes for however long they continue to be able to play, which it looks like they're going to go one more at least Olympic cycle. They have to go at least one more Olympic cycle in LA. Like, come on, like that's wild if they don't. So, man, it's tough, man. I feel bad for Perry, man. One all-time scores, obviously multiple times. Like, one of the attentions that, man, I'm gonna talk about the attention situation later, but it's really sad to me. But I'm glad the U.S. was able to. Man, I can't even really do that. I'm glad they were able to make it, but man, it's just disappointing. Again, 6th place in 2020. What was it? We came in. We came in 6th in 2020, and I think we came in 7th in 2016. You know, it's this is a tough one. It's a tough one to have to keep swallowing. You know, a tough one to have to keep swallowing. What was it? We came in ninth in 2016. So yeah. And then look, last thing off for the men's side, Kenya. I thought Kenya was going to do way better, but you know, I'm glad they managed to get at ninth. It's a young team. You know, they're doing their whole restart as well in the middle of financial problems for Kenya Rugby Union, in the middle of political strife that's happening for the Kenyan country. You know, just to be able to pull it through. And they look like they wanted to play. I always said the big thing with Kenya was the last two Olympics, it just felt like the guys were just happy to get there. And this team felt like they wanted to win. They weren't able to do it, but they felt like they wanted to win. Samoa is the same. Tough team. Just wasn't able to complete it out. It was all said and done. Uruguay was scrappy, but when it came down to it, just they didn't have the talent. You know, and the same with Japan. And Japan's actually a big one because, you know, when we got introduced to Japan in 2016, that was a team that beat South Africa in the pool play and ended fourth in 2016, and really was the launching pad for what we felt was the rise of Japanese rugby into a tier 1 nation. And then when in 2020 they finished 11th, and this year they went to 12th. Like, they progressively getting worse. So they'll have to jump back, be able to get investment again some way somehow. But it was really interesting to be able to see. So that was my thoughts here for the men's side on this one. All right, look, I'm gonna go to a commercial. I don't actually have one set for this initially, but this was long. I need to take a quick break. We'll be back, and we're gonna talk about the women's side. I ain't convinced. Ride around in the city, black out the tents. Gassed up, they gon' let me, fill the tank. We're taking dumplings to a new level. My name is Gift Bailu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to introduce you to one of our most popular products, dumpling flour. What makes our dumpling flour so popular is that it is a mix of unrefined super flours that create the maximum level of nourishment for your personal dumplings. This is including mixes like buckwheat, sunflower, flax seeds, everything that helps to be able to make your appetite stronger, more fulfilled, and healthier. Including within that, we have no added sugars, so we want to make sure that it is rich in protein, rich in fiber, and rich in vitamins and minerals. Our dumpling flour is diabetic friendly, high in quality gluten-free mixes with no rice. And if you know, you know. There's always a little bit of rice to be able to stabilize it. Not here in our dumpling flour. It is naturally nourishing, and of course, it's a great substitute for wheat-based dumplings. With this gluten-free dumpling, you can now make your croissants, you can make your rice dumplings, you can make your dessert dumplings. You can absolutely find this at healthenhancedfoods.com. Go ahead, get yourself a bag, get yourself a pallet, and make sure that you can fulfill for your people and yourself the way that you really deserve it. Don't wait, let's go.